Well, hello and happy Wednesday to you. Oh my gosh, the trees in Salt Lake City at the moment are just incredible. The mountains are a sea of red. The mountains that I'm sort of sitting next to face west, and the colors are just absolutely incredible. And as you go up these canyons that come off of Salt Lake, the aspens, the yellows are there as well. So this is a wonderful time of the year. I just love the autumn. It's just fantastic. Temperatures are good and the beauty is beyond just incredible. So today's talk, I've been mulling over what to talk about today, and I think that there's a sort of a theme in some of the things I've been talking about in the spatial world. I think that my perspective is around new thinking and new approaches. I think we've now got an industry which has established the GIS world, the remote sensing world, which has always spoken to folks that understand the technology. So therefore, they talk capabilities, they talk data. That's why those are niche industries. Dare I say that? Don't slap me for saying that, but it's true, I think. And now we've got like emerging technologies. Digital twin, which we'll talk about a little bit more this week, is one example. And I'm looking at things like augmented reality, spatial computing, which is coming, and they're all again within our world. But it's all well and good talking about capabilities and data, which again we've historically done well to a particular audience, and it's all very well talking about what's possible given the technology that's being produced. But there's some really missing pieces, I think, to the puzzle. I think that James Perdue and I were talking about this yesterday, and Roger Martin, who's a really good strategy guy, I listened to a talk with him about this, that selling and marketing and communication is a really in universities, it's not really taught. It's not really. There's no science to it. It's generally this kind of over there sort of thing. And again, I point you at Roger Martin, who did a talk the other day that when he's head of a business school, they really didn't teach selling at all. But I'm much more interested in that communication part of selling. So I think that where we fall down as an industry is there. I believe. I think that the challenge that we've got is in a number of places, this is really the focus of what I was going to talk about today. Number one, and I've worked in lots of situations like this, is your product or solution sellable? In other words, does it solve a problem? I've seen it more often than not. Well, more often than not, I've seen it in a number of situations where something is released which the due diligence was not done on the market or the personas that this is being sold to, and the problem it's looking to solve. So often can often be technical people that are looking at have got a great idea and think it's sellable. And so therefore a product is released which is taken out to the marketplace and you can't sell it. What happens is you generally sort of sack the salespeople or the marketing people until you realize at some point, this is a solution looking for a problem. It's a massive issue within technology anyway, but in our spatial industry, it's huge. So my thinking here is, number one, do you have something that's sellable? Have you done the due diligence to actually understand what the market wants and narrowed in on that place where you've got a problem that you can solve using the technology or data that you've got? So that's a fundamental building block of any sales and marketing efforts. But from there, what story do you tell? And I know people talk about storytelling all the time, but in sales and marketing have changed. Sales and marketing really are a guided journey to a solution for customers. And if you start out in that place of talking through that journey from problem to solution, you're more often than not going to engage and build those synergistic relationships with customers. So instead of you selling widgets on, you're actually building a solution, solving a problem together. That's an important place to get to, and it's a new place, I think, particularly in today's world where the communication world has changed. But when we start thinking about the new world that's emerging, again, I think digital twin, I'll talk a little bit more about digital twin tomorrow. I see a lot of people talking about digital twin, what it is, a definition of it, disagreeing what it might be. It really doesn't matter what your definition of digital twin is. It really matters how and what you're talking to customers about in terms of the problem that digital twin can solve. So too often people pontificate about what is a digital twin and don't actually think through what a digital twin can help to solve. And I've used this example before. A number of years ago, I was working with transportation safety engineers and looking at their workflow. It was obvious that at some point in their journey in understanding why intersections are problematic, they had to go out to the intersection and do measurements and look at the intersection and think, well, why should we put a roundabout here? So to do that digitally adds an enormous amount of value to the workflow of those folks. Not only do they not have to go out and drive multiple times out to that intersection, which might be miles away, but they can also enrich what they're looking at digitally. So not only can you see a three-dimensional version of that using LiDAR, for example, and look at some of the challenges that may be part of that intersection, you can also add other data, richer data to that. You can add point data, which is where the collisions happen. You can add harsh acceleration and harsh braking data to that scene. You can add real-time data, people moving, cars moving. So you can enrich that. Now, that's a digital twin. That's a digital twin I've just described. That digital twin not only gives that engineer a sense of place, it also allows them to enrich that intersection, which they couldn't do if they were standing there in reality. They can enrich that with digital reality and add all sorts of different data sets that will help them arrive at a conclusion about something which will save lives and prevent serious injuries. Now, that's a big deal. It's that mindset that we have to go into as we think about what we're doing with digital twin, for example. There's no good pontificating about what it is and what it isn't. It's much more about actually not even talking about digital twin, working through an example where the value is high of, and the story is good, of where you can actually talk to, in the case I've just used, a safety engineer to help them more accurately and more efficiently arrive at a conclusion to solve a particularly very egregious problem, safety problem. So that's my talk today. I've sort of jumped around the houses a little bit, but most of it is around, yes, do you have a solution, a product that solves a problem? And again, a lot of times there's whole loads of stuff out there that never sells, and is because it's been not been focused on building the problem. But presuming you have that, the journey of sales and marketing is discovering those problems and telling those stories to customers to engage with them to help them solve problems. So that's my talk. I'll do a little bit more on this tomorrow because I think we're entering a world where it's ever more important that we actually isolate these problems and build back into the technology and the data. So if you like this talk, follow me on LinkedIn. If you're on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Again, I do this a lot. If you've got any thoughts and comments, feel free to add them to this post, and I'll do another talk tomorrow. Thanks for watching.